1948 Implementation of apartheid laws. In 1948, the National Party, led by Daniel Francois Milan, won South Africa's general election and began enforcing apartheid. The system institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination by imposing rules that divided South Africans into racial categories and severely limited the rights of non-white individuals. For instance, the Prohibition of Mixed Marriages Act 1949. This act prohibited marriages between people of different races. 1960 Sharpeville Massacre. The Sharpeville Massacre took place on March 21, 1960, in the settlement of Sharpeville near Vereeniging, South Africa. The said incident was a critical occasion in the history of apartheid. On March 21, between 5,000 and 7,000 protesters gathered peacefully outside the Sharpeville police station. The throng was unarmed and consisted of men, women, and children. Tensions rose as further police reinforcements arrived, including armored vehicles and planes. Tensions rose as further police reinforcements, including armored vehicles and planes, arrived. Around 1:15 p.m., cops opened fire on the ground without warning. The gunfire lasted around 2 minutes and approximately 700 shots were discharged. 69 individuals were killed, including women and children, and approximately 180 were injured. Many were shot in the back as they attempted to flee. 1976 Soweto Uprising. Black South African students protested and led a series of marches in 1976 against the apartheid government's policy of requiring instruction in Afrikaans, the language of the oppressor. These events became known as the Soweto Uprising. On June 16, hundreds of students in the Johannesburg township of Soweto staged protests against the new language regulation in the streets. The demonstrations swiftly deteriorated into violence when police opened fire on the unarmed students. More demonstrations and altercations with the police resulted from the violence spreading into More demonstrations and altercations with the police resulted from the violence spreading the neighboring townships in South Africa. Many months passed during the revolt, which claimed hundreds of lives amongst citizens and students. Since it brought attention to the harsh repression of the apartheid state and inspired international support for the anti-apartheid movement, the Soweto Uprising is largely seen as a turning point in the fight against apartheid in South Africa. A new generation of activists and leaders in the struggle for freedom and equality in South Africa was also motivated by the revolt. The 1976 Soweto Uprising. The 1976 Soweto Uprising, in which several school children were murdered by police, was a pivotal movement for this movement. The Soweto community and the students organized this movement, which demonstrated the extent of South Africa's racial problems. Furthermore, this movement effectively combated the savagery of the apartheid state, since it was estimated to have killed between 170 and 700 individuals, a matter that sparked international political controversy. There were some disagreements inside the National Party because of this movement. Some debated whether political reformation was necessary in South Africa, while others contended that because of the illegal protests occurring at the time, the government should be protecting white people more. The MPs. The NP's office was further undermined by various internal disputes against the political organization. To put it briefly, the Soweto uprising of some 1970s. The NP's office was further undermined by various internal disputes inside the political organization. To put it briefly, the Soweto uprising of 1976 pushed for the abolition of apartheid and put the National Party to the test. 1986 International Sanctions. In 1986, international sanctions were notably directed against South Africa in response to its apartheid policies. The sanctions were imposed by various countries and international organizations, aiming to pressure the South African government to dismantle its system of racial segregation and discrimination. United States. The Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act was passed by the U.S. Congress, which imposed significant economic sanctions on South Africa. This included bans on new investments, trade restrictions, and the cessations of fair links between the two countries. 1990 Nelson Mandela release. February 11, 1990 was a momentous day in South African history as Nelson Mandela, the iconic anti-apartheid leader, walked out of Victor Verster prison a freeman after 27 long years of incarceration. This milestone event marked a significant turning point in the country's transition from the oppressive apartheid regime to a domestic society. Mandela's release was a result of intense international pressure, internal resistance, and the gradual weakening of the apartheid government. The international community had long condemned the apartheid regime, imposed economic sanctions, and isolated South Africa diplomatically.